Welcome back to Paddock Pulse, the home of the fastest news in the world of motorsport. I'm your host, Myke, and today we are witnessing the first real sparks of the 2026 revolution. From the birth of a new power unit in a secret facility to a triple world champion taking a rookie under his wing, the landscape of Formula One and endurance racing is shifting beneath our feet as we speak. We have Audi making history, Red Bull fighting to keep their core team together, and a Toyota machine so beautiful it might just break the internet. But before we dive into the technicalities of these monsters, a quick reminder. If you want to understand the basics of what we're about to discuss, check out our F1 Beginner's Guide playlist. It covers everything from aerodynamics to engine maps. Also, check out our partners at Paddock BR. I'm wearing their latest 100% cotton gear today. Comfortable, durable, and featuring every driver on the grid. Use the Paddock Pulse coupon for a discount and free shipping. And for the gamers among you, Instant Gaming has massive deals on racing titles and gift cards right now. Links are in the description. Now, let's talk about a car that redefined eye candy in the WEC. Let's start with something that isn't just a car, it's a statement. Toyota has officially unveiled their weapon for the 2026 World Endurance Championship, WEC. And the TR010 Hybrid is, quite simply, a work of art. For years, the Toyota Gazoo racing team, now simply rebranded as Gazoo Racing, has dominated the hypercar era with a black and gray aesthetic that felt industrial and clinical. But for 2026, they went back to their roots. The first thing you notice is the color. They've swapped the stealth black for a vibrant, aggressive red, black, and white livery. This isn't just a random choice. This is a direct homage to the legendary Toyota GT1 that captivated fans at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the late 90s. It's a design that screams speed even when standing still. But as we know here at Paddock Pulse, beauty in racing is only skin deep. What matters is what's underneath the carbon fiber. This car represents the first major technical overhaul since the hypercar regulations were introduced in 2021. The TR010 features a heavily revised front-end aerodynamic package and a more efficient V6 bi-turbo hybrid powertrain. But here is the fascinating part. Toyota's engineers aren't just aiming to be the fastest, they are aiming to be BOP-proof. In the WEC, the balance of performance, BOP, is a system designed to keep the field level by adding weight or restricting power to the fastest cars. Toyota's philosophy for 2026 is radical. They want to build a car so inherently superior in its mechanical grip and tire management that even when the BOP hammers them with extra weight, they are still the favorites to win. They want to overcome the regulations through sheer engineering brilliance. The drivers are already calling it a revolution. Is it the most beautiful car on the grid? In my opinion, absolutely. It has that classic prototype silhouette mixed with futuristic aero channels. But I want to hear from you. Are you as obsessed with this red livery as I am, or do you think performance should always dictate the look? Now, let's pivot back to Formula One, where a very unexpected mentorship is taking shape. We are talking about the relationship between the reigning king, Max Verstappen, and Brazil's newest star, Gabriel Bortoleto. On the surface, they are rivals. But behind the scenes, Max has stepped into a role we rarely see him play, the mentor. Bortoleto recently opened up about the advice he's been receiving from the triple champion. Now, we all joked when Max's first piece of advice was simply, just accelerate. Just go faster. It's quintessentially Max, minimalist and focused purely on speed. But the details Bortoleto revealed later show a much more human side to Verstappen. Max has been acting like what Gabriel calls a cool uncle. Throughout the 2025 season, when Bortoleto was navigating the highs and lows of his rookie year, Max was reportedly sending him consistent messages of support. Not technical telemetry data, but psychological grounding. Verstappen's core message was simple: don't beat yourself up over mistakes. Think about that for a second. This is coming from a man who, in his own early years, specifically back in 2018, went through a brutal spiral of errors. Remember those first 7 races of 2018? Max was crashing, spinning, and clashing with everyone. He told the media back then that he was frustrated, but it was the turning point in Montreal that changed his life. He is now using that trauma to help Bortoleto. He told Gabriel that mistakes are the only way to actually learn where the limit is. If you don't find the wall, you don't know where the edge of the track truly ends. For Bortoleto, hearing this from the guy who is currently dominating the sport is massive. It validates his journey. It tells him that even the cyborg Verstappen was once a kid struggling with consistency. Of course, we know the reality. If they are both fighting for P1 at Interlagos next year, Max will run him off the road without a second thought. That's just racing. But off-track, this friendship is the foundation Bortoleto needs as he prepares for the Audi project. Speaking of Audi, let's talk about why the mood in Hinwil has suddenly changed from crisis to optimism. Now, let's get into the heart of the Red Bull garage. If there is one voice that defines Max Verstappen's career, it isn't his father Jos, and it isn't Christian Horner. It is the calm, sometimes sarcastic, and always precise voice of Gianpiero Lambiase, or GP, as we all know him. For months, the rumor mill has been spinning out of control. With the departure of the aerodynamic genius Adrian Newey to Aston Martin and the sporting director Jonathan Wheatley to the Audi project, everyone was asking the same question: is GP next? The rumors were loud. We had reports of massive offers from Aston Martin, where Lawrence Stroll is basically building an F1 Avengers team, and even interest from Williams, where James Vowles is trying to recreate the glory days. It made sense, right? If your best friend and the guy you've built a dynasty with, Adrian Newey, is moving down the road, why wouldn't you follow? But, according to the latest reports from Auto Racer in Italy, the storm has settled. Gianpiero Lambiase has reportedly turned down the millions from the competition. He is staying at Milton Keynes. And he's not just staying as a race engineer, he's been promoted to head of race engineering. This is a massive defensive win for Christian Horner. Losing GP would have been the final straw for Max Verstappen's patience. Think about their dynamic. It's like a high-speed marriage. Max screams that the tires are dead or the diff is wrong, and GP calmly tells him to shut up and drive. That level of trust takes a decade to build. You can't just buy that with a signing bonus. However, and this is a big however for you Paddock Pulse listeners, the report highlights that this commitment is only solid for 2026. There is no mention of 2027. What does that tell us? It tells us that Max and GP are likely synchronized. They are going to see what the 2026 Red Bull Ford engine looks like. If that engine is a dud, or if the car falls behind the Mercedes and Ferraris of the world, 2027 becomes the year of the Great Exodus. Max has already hinted that his loyalty to Red Bull is tied to performance. He isn't interested in a project or a rebuilding phase. He is a predator who needs a sharp set of teeth. If Red Bull can't provide the teeth, he'll find another shark. By keeping GP for 2026, Red Bull has bought themselves one more year of stability. But is it enough? Does the 2027 uncertainty make you nervous for the future of the Bulls? Let's move from the garage to the factory floor in Neuburg, Germany. We've reached a milestone that most skeptics thought would take much longer. Audi has officially fired up its 2026 power unit inside the chassis. Now, let's break down why this is a big deal, and not just a PR stunt. In Formula One development, you usually start with a mule, or a dyno test, just the engine sitting on a bench, hooked up to computers. But firing it up inside the chassis means the integration has begun. It means the cooling systems, the MGUK, the kinetic energy recovery system, the battery packs, and the structural mounts are all working in harmony. It's the difference between testing a heart on a table and seeing a pulse inside a body. Under the leadership of Mattia Binotto and the incoming Jonathan Wheatley, the mood at Audi has done a complete 180-degree turn. 6 months ago, the project looked like it was in shambles. There were power struggles, technical delays, and rumors that Audi might even pull out. But now, there is a palpable sense of optimism. Binotto, for all the criticism he took at Ferrari, is a master of engine architecture. He knows how to build a power unit that pushes the limits of the regulations. And let's talk about those 2026 regulations. We are moving to a 50-50 split between internal combustion and electrical power. The MGUH, the heat recovery system, is gone. This was done specifically to attract manufacturers like Audi and Ford, as it simplifies the technology and lowers the barrier to entry. Audi isn't just joining to participate, they are joining to disrupt. What's even more interesting is the equalization clause. The FIA has stated that if any engine manufacturer is more than 2% to 4% behind the top performer, they will be granted extra development hours to catch up. This is a safety net for Audi. It means they won't be stuck in the Honda 2015 trap of being slow for 3 years with no way out. The optimism isn't just corporate talk, it's backed by a regulatory structure that wants them to succeed. In January, the car hits the track for real. No more simulations, no more dynos, just raw carbon fiber and the sound of a German-engineered V6. Can Audi actually challenge the established order in year one? It sounds impossible, but in F1, impossible is just a starting point. For a long time, the narrative for 2026 was written in stone: Mercedes will dominate. Why? Because they did it in 2014. They have the best facilities in Brixworth, and they've been working on the sustainable fuel transition longer than anyone. But lately, that wall of invincibility is showing some cracks. Suddenly, we are hearing high levels of confidence from Ferrari. Fred Vasseur has been quietly recruiting some of the best engine minds in Europe. Then you have Honda, working with Aston Martin. Honda is currently the gold standard in F1 engines, and there is no reason to think they've forgotten how to build a winner. Even Red Bull Powertrains, partnered with Ford, is making bold claims. Christian Horner recently stated that they are hitting all their internal performance targets. This brings us to a logical conclusion. The physics of these engines have a ceiling. There is only so much energy you can extract from 30 kilograms of sustainable fuel and a limited battery pack. If everyone is hitting the physical limit, we might see the closest engine parity in the history of the sport. This shifts the focus back to aerodynamics and driver skill. If the engines are equal, Max Verstappen becomes even more dangerous. Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari becomes a terrifying prospect. And Audi's project suddenly looks much more competitive. We are entering an era where engine dominance might be replaced by integration dominance, how well the chassis works with the power unit. The game has changed, and the old masters at Mercedes might find themselves in a dogfight they didn't expect. Livery reveals start next week, and we might get our first glimpses of how these teams are packaging their 2026 dreams. Are you ready for the most unpredictable season in a generation?